Thank you so much for coming out on the last day of Next. I really appreciate it. Before I dive into it, I'd like to see a show of hands. How many people here are developers? How many people here are administrators? How many people here deal with compliance? All right. How many people are familiar with our key management products? I know you, Nelly. So, how many people are familiar with the Secret Manager products? All right, great. And how many people are familiar with Parameter Manager, which we launched last year? A little less on that one. So, okay, great. Well, we'll learn a little bit about all of that on this one. So as we dive in, but thank you so much for coming out, particularly on the third day of Next. Hopefully you've had a great time. So we're going to talk about cryptographic proof, ensuring confidentiality, sovereignty, and control. And I'm Brad. I lead product for key and secret management at Google. And presenting with me today is Bhaskar and Fiaz. Fiaz is a senior VP and distinguished architect from Salesforce. So you've probably, if you're a Cloud Next veteran, you've probably seen some flavor of this over the course of the years where we talk about wanting to be the most trusted cloud or something of that term. What I want to talk about is that you should trust no one, and that includes Google. And so what we're working on are tools to make sure that you don't have to trust us, right? We don't think you have to trust us to achieve your security, privacy, and compliance objectives. And we want to make sure that you have those tools that give you those controls that you need so you don't rely on trust in your cloud provider to perform the functions that you need to perform. So this is something we talked about in the past, and so I wanted to highlight it a little bit before we kind of dive into our launches. We've moved beyond an era where policy-based trust is sufficient to protect data. We think you require cryptographic proof that your data is private, sovereign, and under your control. And we refer to this as the cloud trust paradox, which is to help you be comfortable with putting your data in cloud. We think that you should trust us less. And so we want to provide products that allow you to do that. Our team provides features that shifts the security model from blind trust to products that allow you to have verifiable possession and control. And that's via mathematical or physical certainty. And so these technical controls are going to mitigate the unlikely but high impact risk of things like rogue employees or geopolitical overreach. And so the end result should be that we become more trustworthy by allowing you to have less trust in us. So we're specifically talking about two different concepts here, control and possession. And I've got a couple of products that a couple new launches that we want to talk about here that do just that. So let's dive right into it. The first one I want to talk about is single-tenant. Single-tenant is something we talked about last year. We had single-tenant in private preview. That's what we announced last Next. Single-tenant actually launched at the end of last year. Single-tenant gives you control of your keys through dedicated logical HSM clusters. Now, these are clusters that sit in our data center. They're built right on the back of our Cloud HSM product. And so we're pleased to announce that this is in GA, and it's rolling out globally. So this gives single-tenant control to all of our customers who need it. The solution is targeted for sensitive workloads that require key isolation. It's highly performant. It grants key isolation to other cloud customers, key isolation from both other cloud customers and from Google operators. So in terms of performance, availability, and ease of use, single-tenant looks just like our Cloud HSM product. It provisions in minutes. It's integrated with all cloud services out of the box. It has all of the enterprise controls that you would expect. That's logging, monitoring, automated backups and disaster recovery. And by the end of Q3, it will be FIPS 140 level 3 validated. We also provide quorum-based authorization And if you're unsure of what quorum-based authorization is, think about every war movie you've seen where it takes 2 people to turn the keys to launch the missiles. That's what quorum-based authorization is. And so we provide that as well. I just want to highlight, when I say that it looks just like our Cloud HSM product, I mean it looks just like our Cloud HSM product. On the left-hand side here is a developer creating a key or encrypting and decrypting with the new single-tenant product. And on the right, it's them doing the same with the Cloud HSM product. It's identical, it performs identically. So it works just like you would expect. At this point, I don't want you to take my word for it, so I want to invite Fiaz on stage to talk about how Salesforce works with this product.
Thank you, Brad. So those of you who are familiar with Salesforce, you probably already know by now, but those who are not, I'll tell you first thing to start about Salesforce is that trust is our #1 value. And the root of trust comes from the team, the product that my team provides. And all of that is rooted at the HSM. And for us to work properly and to give the level of trust that the customers need, we have to work with a single-tenant HSM. And this works at the CRM layer. We provide data protection at rest. We provide data protection in transit, and in some cases also in use. And they're all rooted at the single-tenant HSM. And not only that, there are other places beyond just the core HSM where we also use the root of trust. If you look at zero copy and zero risk data integration, the root of trust is where everything is grounded. Over there, you can actually have integration with your backend data and your CRM data, and they're all protected. Then we go to the AI trust layer. Salesforce provides an enterprise-grade AI layer. You can use that for your CRM operations. You can use that, our agentic platform, for automating a lot of your work. But at the core of it, the trust is important. And what we provide over there is that we ensure that none of your data is actually used to train any of the models. And not only that, the models you're using are grounded with your trusted CRM data. And all of that requires us to have this level of control. And then the next one that's also important that's coming up these days is the sovereign infrastructure on Hyperforce. There are a lot of areas beyond the current US and Europe where customers are requiring sovereignty of their data. They don't want their data to reside outside of the country. And especially if you're dealing with regulatory customers or if you're dealing with basically local public sector customers, they all require this level of control. So let me tell you a little bit about Salesforce Hyperforce. So the Salesforce Hyperforce is our trusted cloud platform. It's loved by developers and CIOs trust it. What it does is that it basically allows us different levels of scalability and control that we didn't have before. Let's start with data residency. So with data residency and using something like the HSMs, we can ensure that the data is within a sovereign boundary. Scalability. Before moving to the public cloud, we had very difficulty scaling our systems with customer demand. Some of those cases, we would take months, Some of those cases, like it took years to even build something out, right? And moving to the cloud, now it's just a matter of minutes. With customer demand, we can scale out. Security is another big thing. You want to build it on the next generation security platform. With Mythos out there, we really have to be careful on how much we can do. As it is, we're tied, our hands are tied with making sure our applications are secure. But doing it at the infrastructure level, we definitely need help from a cloud provider, and that's where Google helps us. The next one is privacy and transparency and control of your data. Customers really want to see that. Between the data processor, which in this case is Salesforce, and the sub-processor, which is Google, you want full transparency and control of your data. And finally, it's agility. And this is important for our customers because they want to build, test, and deploy in rapid successions. And this is what they get when we move to something, when we move our service to the cloud. So I think that's good, Salesforce moved to the cloud. But traditionally, Salesforce really comes from a 1P background, right? We ran our own data center, and the customers were happy. They're enterprise customers. They see an enterprise-grade system. And then once we go to the public cloud, then they're a little bit concerned. One of their biggest concern is that, hey, where is your root of trust coming from, right? I know in 1P, you run your own HSMs. They have their auditors come in, look at our HSMs. What's happening on the cloud? Are you giving me the same level of control? And is my data getting the same level of protection? So when we moved to public cloud, we left a lot of our baggage, right? We don't want to take this. We don't want to take these hand-built things in the public cloud. We want to use all the normal tools and automation that's available there. But one thing we definitely took with us, which was the physical HSMs, which is the root of trust. And that's where the single-tenant offering really, really made it possible for us to make the move. And so once we moved the core trust into the single-tenant HSM, let's see what we got over there, right? So first of all, we got dedicated crypto-isolated HSM partitions. That was very, very important for us because we have what we call crypto officers. Brad already described 2 people coming in, turning their keys, except we have more than 2 people because we don't trust 2 people doing it. We need more than 2 people who can actually make this work, and what we call M of N. So we have like 8 people, and out of 8, 6 people need to come together to actually make anything happen. So in that model, we definitely needed that quorum-based capability to achieve our crypto officers do what they call the crypto ceremonies, where they can actually build the root of trust keys that can be used for certificates, that can be used for protecting secrets, protecting keys. All of those start from there. The next one, it enables the regional isolation through zero trust data residency. As I mentioned, that is important. And so these regional entities that we have now, they're all isolated, and we can tell our customers that you will not have data exfiltrated by foreign adversaries or any of that situations because they're completely isolated and they're protected at a different root level. And finally, it delivers the assurance of physical security and the agility of a public cloud. Basically, what it means is that now our root of trust is at a physical device, which we always wanted, which is really good. But we also have the agility of public cloud. And that part is important, because if we didn't have that, what my team was telling me is that, hey, Fiaz, we can actually solve this problem. We got these bare metal HSMs. We can move into a colo next to a Google data center. We can connect them. And I said, hang on. Let's not get there so fast. We know there's something coming from Google. We can use it. Let's go on with that, right? And that's where the single-tenant HSM really, really helped us, because otherwise we would be getting ourselves into a tech debt that I really don't want to get into. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Brad again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So single-tenant Cloud HSM is available today. We're rolling it out globally. If you go and look for it, it's not in a region that you need it right now, let us know, and we'll prioritize the rollout for you and make sure that we get it where you need it. So let's move to the next topic. I want to talk about possession. So since the launch of EKM in 2020, we've given our customers the concept of possession, which is the ability to deny access to unencrypted data for any reason. This is, in essence, possession of keys. So today, we're announcing a new product. It's the next generation of EKM. It's called confidential EKM. What confidential EKM does is it combines the assurances of external root key manager and key access justification with the greater attestation that you can get with confidential computing. This combination creates a highly reliable, performant, and cryptographically attestable environment to protect your encryption keys. Now, I want you to hear about this in more depth. So to explain in more depth, Bhaskar is going to come up and walk you through the architecture and through a demo.
Thank you, Brad. Super excited to be here to talk about the confidential EKM work that our team has been doing. I'll give you a high-level overview of the architecture before we jump into a demo. Let's start with the CEKM server. The CEKM server is responsible for enforcing the customer's key access justification, and it is also performing the wrap, unwrap of the key encryption keys. It holds the customer's root key, and the CEKM server is actually running on confidential space. It means Google does not have an ability to look at the cryptographic material or influence the key access justification that is being enforced there. At startup, the CEKM server pulls the root key material from the root key manager. It is also pulling the configuration from the root key manager. It also does a periodic heartbeat with the root key manager, which is running on premises. So this means that any configuration change that has been done on the root key manager can be propagated immediately to the CEKM server. In our demo, we will show you the power, what Brad referred to as control and position. We will show it to you in our demo. The other thing I wanted to call out is all CEKM keys are created in the customer's single-tenant HSM partition. So this gives us FIPS 140-3 level 3 compliance. Let's now talk a little bit about the root key manager. The root key manager is a container, so it can run anywhere, typically running on-premise, but a partner could also be running it for you. The root key manager is responsible for validating the attestations, the confidential space attestations, and the authorization keys that are provided by the CEKM server before releasing the root key material as well as the configuration. It also offers you flexibility in terms of what storage you want to use, and it can integrate with on-prem HSM hardware that you have, and that is what is acting as the root of trust for your entire CEKM instance. In today's demo, in the interest of time, we have already set up the CEKM server as well as the single-tenant HSM partition, and we'll start our demo by installing the root key manager. With that, let's jump into the demo.
We start by deploying the root key manager. This script pulls the RKM Docker image from a secure repository in Google Artifact Registry and creates a new container using Docker CLI. We can now verify and confirm that the RKM container created from the Artifact Registry image is up and running. Let's now examine the contents of the GCS bucket used by our demo RKM server. The RKM server fetches the policies and configuration from this bucket during startup. We have the default KAJ policy, which defines the rules for key access, a heartbeat config policy for monitoring, the demo key material used for cryptographic keys, and the CEKM instance metadata, which holds configuration related to the confidential EKM instance. A core function of the RKM is to provide the confidential EKM server with the KAJ policies. Let's take a look at the default KAJ policy. That defines the allowed reasons for access. In this configuration, we are allowing access for customer-initiated access and Google-initiated system operations. The RKM also empowers customers with control over the CEKM instance. customers can initiate an immediate stop of all crypto operations. This can be done using the shutdown immediately flag in the CEKM instance metadata. Customers can simply set this to true. If this configuration is changed in storage, the RKM immediately detects this change. This signal is relayed to the confidential EKM server, and all cryptographic operations are stopped immediately. This provides a powerful control mechanism to customers over their key management. Let's now create a new KMS key backed by CEKM. Upon executing this command, the Cloud KMS sends a request to the CEKM instance, which generates new cryptographic key material within the confidential space environment, wraps it using the CEKM's root key, and returns it to Cloud KMS. The metadata shows that the key we just created is backed by confidential EKM. Next, we encrypt confidential EKM is awesome using the key we just created. Cloud KMS sends the plain text and the wrapped key to the CEKM instance, which verifies the request against the KAJ policy, unwraps the key using its root key, and encrypts the plain text and returns the ciphertext to Cloud KMS. To confirm the process, we will decrypt the ciphertext generated in the previous step. The decryption flow mirrors the encryption process. We can see that decryption was successful, and we can see the original plain text. Next, let's examine the audit logs for the encrypt and decrypt operations we just performed. These logs show that the operations were customer-initiated. The logs also show the KAJ policy that was enforced by the CEKM. Observe that the default KAJ policy allows only customer-initiated access and Google-initiated system operations. Now, we will use a tool to simulate a Google-initiated administrative access with a justification that is not permitted by the KAJ policy. This request results in a permission-denied error because the KAJ policy does not allow the Google-initiated service reason. While KAJ provides fine-grained control, customers can use the root key manager configuration to revoke all access to the key material through the CEKM instance. Here, we are updating the shutdown immediately to true in the CEKM instance metadata file. The RKM detects the change in configuration and instructs the CEKM instance to purge all the root keys. So when we try another customer-initiated encrypt operation, it fails. The CEKM instance fails the encrypt or decrypt operations with an error message indicating that cryptographic operations failed because the root keys have been purged.
Okay, Brad, over to you again.
Thank you so much, Bhaskar. I really appreciate it. So, why CEKM? So, you maintain possession and control of your keys. Because we have the endpoints in Google Cloud, you get high availability and low latency, and it also is a lower TCO than our EKM market currently in the EKM product currently in the market. It integrates seamlessly with all of our services that support CMEK, and that includes our AI tools. And I just want to say I'm glad that I finally mentioned AI in this presentation. Because otherwise I might get fired if I don't start talking about AI more. So, okay, so out of the box, it integrates with all of those tools. So, CEKM is coming to preview. This is one, get your phone out, grab the link, sign up in the form, and we'll let you know as soon as the preview is available. Maybe I'm a little low energy on this. I could not be more excited about this product and the launch that's coming. We really think that this is gonna allow the promise of EKM to be accessible by a lot more of our customers. And so we would like for all of you to come try it out, let us know what you think about it. So let's switch gears. Again, at the spirit of trying not to get fired, I do want to talk about AI a little bit. Although, if you heard me say don't trust Google in the last section, now I'm going to tell you don't trust AI. So maybe that's the wrong tack. But so it shouldn't be a stretch that that's where I'm going though. So why am I saying that? Take a look at the data on this slide. And man, so here's a compliment for AI. Look at what AI built for me on this. I just gave it the bullets and it built this great numbers. But okay, this 2026 report from GitGuardian They found 29 million unprotected secrets, and that was up over a year from 34%, and that's expected to continue to grow. These leaks are all being driven by AI. API keys are being leaked, vibe coding is creating vulnerabilities, AI assistants are leaking code. They also found that LLM infrastructure is leaking 5 times faster than code model providers. If you're not worried about this, you absolutely should be. And of course you know that I'm going to provide you a solution for it. But the reason you should be worried about it is because hackers don't break in, they log in, and they log in using the vulnerabilities that we just talked about in the last slide. So our answer for this is Secret Manager, and that's our single source of truth to store, access, manage, and audit secrets and parameters. And earlier, when we put the show of hands, not everyone was aware of Parameter Manager. I'm not going to talk about it a lot in this presentation, but I do encourage you to go and take a look at Parameter Manager and check that out. This is another one where we want to show you more than talk about it. So Bhaskar is going to come back up on stage and walk you through it.
Thank you, Brad. So Secret Manager is natively integrated with our agent development kit. And our recommendation is to store your secrets in Secret Manager and use the agent identity to securely retrieve the secrets at runtime. So no more config files, no more storing secrets in your environment variables. And this is a zero trust model. We will showcase how to do this in our demo. The other thing that we are recommending today is to segregate the code and the agent instructions, the prompts that are being sent to the LLM, and use Parameter Manager to store the agent instructions. By doing that right, you will be able to influence the agent's personality or change the prompts if it is required without having to go through a full CI/CD cycle. We'll show you the power of doing that in our demo.
Let's take a look at how to make your agents secure and agile with Secret Manager. Today, we're demonstrating an ADK chatbot that uses Secret Manager and Parameter Manager. This centralizes control, enables real-time updates, and keeps secrets secure, all without redeployment. Let's look at the standard way developers build AI agents today. Most start with secrets stored in local environment files and instructions hard-coded directly into the agent code. This architecture works for local development, but it's a liability in production. Secrets in environment variables are prone to leakage, and static instructions force a full CI/CD redeploy just to change a single business rule or patch a personality flaw. In this code, you can see the agent pulling its CRM API key from the local environment. Its instructions are frozen in code, rigid, visible, and difficult to manage at scale. Each update to the instruction would require a full CI/CD redeploy. We modernized this by integrating the agent with Secret Manager and its Parameter Manager feature. Secret Manager is natively integrated with ADK. The agent uses its identity to securely connect and fetch credentials and instructions from Secret Manager. This way, we eliminate local credential storage and static instructions. We start by creating a secret in Secret Manager for storing the credentials. We grant the agent's identity access permissions on this secret via IAM. Using the native ADK integration, the agent fetches the CRM API key just in time from Secret Manager. The secret never touches the agent's storage or the environment. It's pure zero-trust security. We then create a parameter in Parameter Manager with the agent's instructions and grant the agent's identity access to this via IAM as well. This allows us to decouple the agent's brain from the code. By fetching instructions from Parameter Manager, we can update the agent's rules of engagement and personality instantly without a full redeploy. Let's say the agent developer was unaware that the CRM tool your agent talks to can also process discounts. Some smart users identified a way to invoke the discount processing, and it becomes a noose. Now the developers rush to solve this quickly. Since the instructions for the agent were externalized in Parameter Manager, they can quickly update the instructions, validate them in pre-prod environment, and patch them in production. Without a redeploy, we save a new version in Parameter Manager that defines a strict operational scope and forbids unauthorized financial transactions. Rerunning the same query, we see the power of orchestration. The agent identifies the violation and firmly blocks the request within the same chat session. The exploit is blocked, and our agent's business logic is more secure now. This secure architecture guarantees zero trust security, no secrets on disk, they are fetched just in time from Secret Manager, and agility. Decouple instructions from code, react quickly without redeployment using Parameter Manager.
So the Secret Manager and Parameter Manager integration with ADK is generally available in the latest version of ADK. Please do try it out and share your feedback with us. Brad, back to you.
Thank you so much, Bhaskar. So, as he mentioned, this is available today. We had a lot of other things that we've launched over the last year. We're a very busy team. We didn't get to talk about a lot of them. But also in GA now is GKE Secret Sync. And there's a lot more coming to preview in Q2. This is another one where if you follow the QR code here, you can go and sign up, and we'll let you know when the previews are available. Secrets Backup is a big one that we've had a lot of people ask about. We would love for you to try it out when it's available. Managed rotation for Cloud SQL, DB credentials, and Parameter Manager templates are all coming, and we would love to get some feedback on it. So if you have an opportunity to come check it out, please do check it out. Express your interest here at the following the QR code. Okay. So now, this is the kind of third section here in our triumvirate that we're going through. At this point, it looks like I'm talking about a lot of roadblocks, and I would guess the majority of you all are trying to figure out how to move very quickly and take advantage of this AI revolution. So I'm here to say I'm not a guy trying to put up roadblocks. Like, my entire career at Google is almost all of it's been in security, about 10 years now, and it's all been about making security easy and accessible. So I want to make things drop dead simple for you. And so I know that we're moving at light speed to take advantage of this AI revolution. I don't want you to have to take shortcuts to get security, privacy, and compliance. And so we're also laser focused on making things really simple. And the next two items I'm going to talk about are those things. So they're things that help you move fast and break nothing. So this is a slide that I put up on the stage last year, and it still holds true. We're still working on an easy button. Our products are only effective if you find them and you turn them on. And so we want to make sure that you can take advantage of these security products. So here's what we want to highlight. We've been talking about Cloud KMS AutoKey for a few years now. We launched it in 2024. In 2025, we turned it on by default in Cloud Setup. What does it do? It makes sure that it's really simple for you to adhere to industry standard best practices for customer managed encryption keys, basically. So what we're announcing today is what we call AutoKey for projects, and this moves to a decentralized management model. And that might sound like a little bit of mumbo jumbo, so I want to go into more details. So this is a change in our recommendation for best practices. We always recommended that you had a centralized key management model. We're saying that you can do both, and we wanted to make sure that AutoKey supported both. So let me tell you why and what the difference is. So in centralized key management, you store all of your keys in one project. The key admin maintains tight control over those keys. In decentralized key management, the keys follow the data. It gives the developers a little bit more velocity. There's a little bit more accountability on the developers, but it's a little bit faster for them. We can support both, and I think it's up to you and your environment to figure out which one works for you. So AutoKey for projects is in preview today, and we would welcome your feedback on that one as well. We also want to make sure that you understand where you're adhering to best practices and where you're not. We have a point of view on what those best practices look like, and we want to help you know if you're meeting that point of view or not. And so we've launched encryption metrics to show you how well you're aligned with those best practices. That is in GA today, and so please do go and take a look at that. We want to help you make the right decision when protecting your environment. So Cloud KMS AutoKey for projects is in public preview. Encryption metrics is in GA. Okay, this is a team that I worked on for 5 years before coming over to cloud. So I like talking about Workspace. Workspace client-side encryption gives Workspace customers the ability to collaborate while maintaining confidentiality, and it gives them granular data access control. Last year on the stage, we announced Cloud HSM for Google Workspace, and that's an encryption backend for Google Workspace customers who want to use CSE. That integration makes sure that CSE is backed by all of Google Cloud's regulatory and compliance certifications, and it also gives them Google Cloud scale. One thing to note is that last quarter, we added the ability to back up CSE with single-tenant Cloud HSM, the thing we talked about at the beginning of the presentation. And so now our CSE customers can get greater control when they want to use us as the encryption backend. What we want to announce today is simple setup for Google Workspace client-side encryption. And so what this is in the admin console. So if you're familiar with the admin console on Workspace, now this is a low-click, easy setup to enable our encryption backend for Workspace CSE. It's a wizard-based setup. It allows you to easily leverage all of those regulatory standards that we just talked about. And at this point, I was going to have Bhaskar come up and give the demo, but it's so easy that even a PM can kick off the demo. So I'm just going to kick it off for you.
The journey begins at a new, intuitive landing page. From here, you can launch the guided setup for an automated experience or choose custom configuration if your organization requires specialized advanced settings for its security infrastructure. Once you've selected your setup path, the process ensures total transparency. You will be prompted to review and confirm associated costs via a direct link to the Google Cloud Console, where you can verify fixed monthly charges for the Cloud HSM instance and KMS key usage rates before proceeding. Behind the scenes, the system handles the heavy lifting by automatically provisioning the Cloud HSM for Google Workspace. This includes configuring the Cloud HSM keys and the Google Identity Provider. Once provisioning is complete, you'll receive a confirmation of your new environment. Saving your settings at this stage triggers the configuration update. This critical step commits your encryption policy, officially activating your client-side encryption using HSM keys. Finally, you can tailor your deployment with granular controls. Select the specific organizational units where the policy will apply and choose the Workspace apps you want to protect, including Gmail, Drive, Calendar, and Meet. And that's it. Your client-side encryption using Cloud HSM keys is successfully configured and active. Your organization's sensitive data is now protected by robust, customer-managed keys, ensuring total confidentiality and full regulatory compliance across your Workspace environment.
Thanks. I love this. I love this feature. It's like bringing the best of two disparate teams together at Google. I love doing that type of work. So, simple setup for Google Workspace CSE is launching in July. So please watch for that. It'll show up in the admin console. Single-tenant Cloud HSM for CSE is available via manual setup right today. So if you were waiting on that, that's available today. We went through a lot of features. You can see what's generally available today or coming very, very soon. You can also see the previews that are coming soon. We would really love to hear your feedback. We prioritize all the work that we do based on what we hear from you, our customers. So please do check out the products and get back in touch with us. I do have one more thing I want to talk about. It's hard to go through a conversation about cryptographic proof and not have some nod to post-quantum cryptography. I didn't go into depth on this because Nelly gave a presentation earlier and talked about it. If you missed Nelly's presentation, I think that was videoed. I think there's a video of that, so please go back and check that out. But I do want to talk a little bit here. We aren't just reacting to PQC. Google's been a leader on this since 2016. We were the first to deploy a post-quantum algorithm in the wild. It was CEC PQ1 in Chrome. And today that means that basically Google's got your back, right? We've standardized on MLChem for TLS across Chrome and Workspace. And that ensures that today you're protected from harvest now, decrypt later types of threats. And that's a risk that we're actively mitigating, and we're continuing to lead here, and we're continuing to work on all of our protections against this kind of looming quantum threat to make sure that all of cloud is ready for a post-quantum reality that's coming sometime soon. So please don't run out the door after this presentation. There are a couple of discussion groups that you might be interested, both focused on sovereignty. A couple of colleagues of mine are running, one at 12:30 and one at 1:45. And if you haven't checked out the demo and the security showcase, I think they close the demos at 2, so do run down there and see the presentations down there. They've got a little bit more detail on the demos there. And then finally, we make our decisions on what gets presented next year based on the feedback that you provide. So please do go into the app and let us know what you thought of this presentation. We would love to hear your feedback. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.